guys, hello Ribbon Mains and Yasuo Mains alike. I am the Nightwing, Way of Life Esports, coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. And today I'm going to be talking about the newest LEC org that just came in last year, but was pretty much by consensus the worst LEC team. Actually, you'd think that Rogue would be the worst LEC team, but nope, they actually turned it around, and XL were literally, I think, 9th and 10th place last year. It was actually abysmal, but this year, overall, they made some changes, and overall, their changes actually look pretty good. I think that this team can be a dark horse team for the LEC. Now, they have a lot of interesting pieces. You have a lot of good players to a certain point where they could easily be around top 5-ish material, but then you also have the same top 5-ish material players that could easily on most days just be bottom 10th at their roles. So let's start at the coaching position, because most of the Fnatic fans know that Youngbuck has now left Fnatic, and he is now going to be coaching XL Esports. Yes, the same Youngbuck that was able to help Fnatic reach World Finals in 2018, and the same Youngbuck that got them out of the group of death is now the coach of XL Esports. I think that Youngbuck is a fantastic coach, and obviously from the behind the scenes stories that we heard about what was going on in Fnatic last year, you have to assume that he's going to be able to do wonders with this roster. I think that most Western teams that didn't have a chance to pick up Youngbuck really seriously missed the mark on a truly great coach. We've seen him do wonders, and it's really interesting that Youngbuck gets to coach Expect again when he coached Expect on G2 Esports when Expect replaced Kikis in the top lane. It's just really weird how some rosters, get shuffled around, and, some players that, were under a certain coach, or a player that played against another player will literally, be on the same team as someone they used to beat back in the day. It's really weird, because Youngbuck used to coach Expect on G2, and now they're on XL Esports together. That's actually really weird, but it's just how, League works. Sometimes you actually get players that, get shuffled into the same roster consistently with the same coaches, and it just happens with, vice versa. So XL's problem last year was that they really had no good pieces. They started off their, LEC, first debut with people like Exile, and that really wasn't going to work. We kind of already knew that Exile was, pretty washed up past that point. He had not been playing well for a very long time, and most of the roster was just decent players, enough to the point where you could see them having success if it all kind of just clicked together. But I'm not really seeing that with this roster coming up. I think that this roster is actually way better than their last year roster, and with the few subs that they have in their positions, I think that you have a really good roster with a lot of potential, and you have that little bit of dark horse element to them. You have a roster that clearly has great potential, but only can reach that potential if it all really matches together. I don't think any of these players' synergy really meshes through. I think that you have just a basic cluster mess of players that want to do completely different things from the other player, and we saw that last year with the main core in Mickey, Kadriel, and Expect. Now, I don't know how much Expect's English has improved since his time on G2, but we know it probably got a little bit better since then. So outside of Expect, Mickey pretty much cannot talk to his team outside of very few words that he can obviously say. And Mickey last year was a big point as to the reason why they got a lot of their wins too, when he actually came in for Exile in the next split. He was able to play skirmish style very well. I think this team style is going to be very skirmish heavy, very team fight oriented early on, if you actually can get a handle of that composition. I think that when you look at Mickey's play, Mickey is more or less so, as you guys remember Mickey from the TL, relegation era, where, Mickey was pretty much just known as the Dice, and, the same thing translated into when he was playing on Golden Guardians, and then obviously for Mickey, you see that now he's basically still a nickname of the Dice, and right after that we can clearly see he's still that same player. He could either play like Caps, or he could either play like people like Abadage. You know, it's just how he's gonna be, and if he can find some level of consistency, I think that that's a really good thing for the roster, because you're able to, you know, really get a handle on what you're able to achieve. We've seen him play at a really high highs at really certain points that you needed a mid laner to play at. But when you don't really get that from him consistently, then he's kind of just a middle of the pack mid laner. I think that he can be a top tier mid laner. I really think he can, but I just don't think that it really will pay off quite this split. I think that he'll be really good because there's a lot of new rookies coming into the league, and that's probably obviously going to make him, you know, be a lot better by default in comparison. But Mickey as a player, I think that he's pretty good at what he can do, but I don't think that he's really flexible enough. There's a lot of issues with him not really respecting jungle attention. That's a real big problem with him. I just overall have a feeling that he's not really gonna do too well this year when you kind of factor in what else can he really improve on. I mean, he's been playing for quite some time, and I don't like to use the whole, you know, you're going to hit your career point at like 24 years old, but what has Mickey really showed us? But I think that he's going to be a decent player for what XL need him to be, actually. All right, so let's go between bot, or let's go to top side, because I have more to say about the top side than the bot side. So let's just go to the bot side. So you have Kasing and Tor. For those of you guys, that's Norscarin. He changed his name because he had some controversy around saying the N-word in a League of Legends chat with his friends, where it literally doesn't matter if you use the N-word, because, you know, if you're not saying it out loud, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care what people said. People are really just super sensitive nowadays, so I'm not really factoring in that as a problem. I don't hate the guy, you know, people are really sensitive nowadays, and I'm not gonna factor in, you know, people being sensitive to the reason why he's a bad player. I know some people said, they're like, oh, he said the N-word, he's a bad player. No, he's not. I think that at Worlds, he was just severely outclassed. We see that with a lot of players, you know, that go to Worlds their first time. They get severely outclassed. It's a common thing that happens when you play against much better competition than what you're normally used to. Now, the difference with his case is that I don't know how that can happen when you had such an easy group they had. They had literally the easiest group in Worlds history. Do not say EU doesn't get easy groups. You are a liar if you believe that. You are just super delusional, because Splice, FunPlus Phoenix, GAM, and J-Team, easy group. I don't even know how FunPlus Phoenix struggled in that group. Just, that baffles my mind to this day, how much they actually literally struggled during that group. Sorry, at this moment right now, there's an ant on my mouse pad, and I just killed the mouse. No, not the mouse. I just killed the ant. What the heck is that ant doing on my mouse pad? Ew, gross. Ugh. But that's what I'm saying. He's an overall pretty decent, solid support. I think that Splice's style just doesn't really fit most people, but Splice are now called Mad Lions, so they never have to exist again. I mean, Splice really did ruin some players, because you factor in after they left Splice, they became much better anyway, so, you know, it's really crazy how Splice really turned around some of these players' playstyles and made them play like they were just chess pieces, which is just really stupid, honestly. But if you use between Kasing and Tor, I think you have two really solid supports. Kasing, I think, is better in terms of shot calling, but I don't think is better in terms of mechanics. I think Tor's, or aka Norscarin's, mechanics are better, but I do think if you need a shot calling voice, I think you should just use Kasing. Now, going into the AD carries, you have Patrick and Jeskla. More or less so, let's be honest here. I don't think Patrick is that incredible, as a lot of people like to overhype him, but he overall is way better than Jeskla, so I think that you have a really strong bot lane if you use Patrick and Tor, but I think you have a more consistent bot lane with, you know, what they're able to lose gracefully if you're able to use, you know, Jeskla and Kasing. Now that Jeskla and Kasing have played for quite some time, you kind of factor in they have a level of synergy that obviously can really be utilized on. But Patrick and Tor, if they try to use that combination, you know, that might take some time to work on. But if they do happen to work on it, they could be a pretty solid bot lane. So I like the bot lane new additions to Excel Esports. I think that this can be a very good thing, but it just depends on how much they are willing to actually work on synergy and work on how they want to play the lane. Some players just want to play the lane differently. I really don't know players that just want to go into the lane and just lose consistently, but some players just like to lose gracefully because they don't really know how to lane very well. It's a thing. So let's go to the top side. You have Expect. If you guys do not remember Expect used to play on G2. He won 3 EU titles so far. He's actually won more EU titles than some other of the EU top laners, which is actually pretty crazy if you really think about it. But Expect is a very solid player. He's just more of like an impact type of player. He's not really going to sometimes win you the game, but he's not going to be the reason why you lose games either, and that's a good thing. Some people don't always have to be super Bjergsen caps, you know, licorice flashy. Sometimes you just need a solid, consistent player, and that's fine, and that's what he can do. He can play your Gangplanks, he can play your Scions, you know, those are fine qualities to have. I love top laners that can do that, because I'm a top lane main myself, so I love top laners that can do that. I love when you could just play top lane, play whatever you need to play for the team, but can also carry if it needs to be that case, though I don't think they're going to really give him enough carries to really show a lot of his qualities. He has improved since his G2 days because people cited Expect as a weak point, and, you know, he's actually improved since then. So I think you have a really solid top laner who can be at least top 5 material. So I think they have a good shot for a top lane position to really show them a lot of what they can play for their composition. So yeah, Expect pretty solid player. I'm really happy to see him still kind of around and really ready to show these new kids on the block how it's done. Back in our EU LCS days when we had Unicorns of Love. Holy crap. I should have been doing League of Legends content back then. I would probably have like 10,000 subscribers. Holy crap. Good God, you know. But let's go on to Kadril. Kadril, obviously, if you guys do not remember his past, he played on HUK when that was a dumpster fire. He started mid lane, switched to jungle, and then I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I thought he was the worst jungler to ever play like EU in history. Like, I have never seen a player play that bad when they first started. But he did improve, and I think now he's actually a top 5 jungler in EU, and I really like to see where his career trajectory is ready to go. You saw him completely carry early games. You saw him completely carry from the jungle position. I think that with the new way the jungle works, he's going to be just that much better. He can play carry junglers. He can play tank junglers really effectively. He can play damage junglers just the same way effectively as he can play a tank jungler. I think that quality alone is enough for me to put him as one of my top 5 junglers for EU. So overall, you have a really solid roster. I think that this squad is the dark horse team of the LEC going into the 2020 spring split. They have a lot to prove. You have Young Buck, who wants to show Fnatic that they made a mistake. You obviously want Patrick, who wants to show Origin they made a mistake for swapping him out with Upset. You have Tor, who wants to show Mad Lions that they made a mistake by switching him out with the new rookie support. And then obviously Expect wants to prove to G2 he made the right choice in leaving G2. And, you know, when they kicked him from G2 a while ago, he's not, because G2 is going to be the best team in the LEC. But, I mean, hey, some people can try. And you have Kadril, who wants to obviously prove that he can be a top jungler, and obviously, you know, have a long tenure career as an EU jungler. And Mickey, he's gonna just have to stop, you know, randomly inting on Yasuo. And if he does that, you're going to have a pretty good roster. So that's pretty much it for Excel Esports. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I have quite a few more teams to get through. The LEC starts, I think, this week, right? And then you obviously have my power rankings. I'm going to be doing those tonight with JTH for our power rankings. Actually, it's going to be a really quite the long video if you guys want that. So yeah, that's it. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.